think we'll get moving on with the show. And that starts with the recap of our divisional round games. And so, with that, the first game we'll cover are the Chiefs and Jaguars, which the score of that was 27-20. And I think our lovely host, Nicole, will give us her thoughts on that divisional game where the Chiefs beat the Jaguars.
Yeah. So I think last time I did say the KC over Jags. And it happened and it rang true for the new year. But only for that game. So I thought it was pretty interesting. You know, a 63-yard kick return from Jamal Agnew in the first was when they were 0 for 7 for the Jags. But there's been some sacks happening with Frank Clark from KC when they were in the second quarter and they were 7-10. And then on all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, they had the TD pass from Patrick Mahomes to finally bring it to 27-17. And then they ended up just the Jags only gave a feasible a little amount. And I'm sorry, Lawrence. I now know who you are, though. At least, and hey, that's a good sign. And I do apologize for the Jaguars, but now I bet you're on everyone's radars. And yeah, go Mahomes, go.
Very nice. Yeah, that was a good game. I was really thinking if maybe the Jaguars had a tiny bit more time, they could have came back and tied it. But when the clock runs out, the score is the score. So moving on to one of our other divisional games was the Eagles and the Giants. That score was 38-7. I don't know what happened to the Giants and where they were and if they decided not to show up. But Delilah, give us your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I think Eagles came in to prove that they earned that number one seed, right? Everybody was doubting them. Everybody kept saying like, "Oh, you played easy games," and all of this stuff, right? And like Jalen, oh, isn't that great? You know what I mean? There's just a lot of like negativity following the Eagles, and I think that they came in saying, "You know what? We're going to shut all that down." And so they took it out on the Giants. They said, all right, we're going to take it out on the Giants. And now, no hate on them getting there because kudos on Brian DeBoer and that whole system of putting a great team together that they actually made the playoffs. So awesome on that. But I think that the Eagles really wanted to prove to people that, hey, we are the number one seed for a reason. And they decided to, pull all the stops with their defense because the fact that, the Giants only scored 7. That means they contain everybody, including Saquon that we talked about, who's been really good this year, right? And, is in the running for a comeback player of the year. And so they contained all of the Giants playmakers, keep them from scoring, only getting 7 points, that whole game. And then their playmakers decided that we're going to get touchdowns. Like they had 3 rushing touchdowns, right? We had, and, interesting enough, it wasn't Miles Sanders who normally has, multiple touchdowns, But, Kenneth Gainwell got a rushing touchdown. Jalen Hurts got a rushing touchdown to remind people, hey, I'm here. I can do this too. Boston Scott got a touchdown. I bet you no one knows who Boston Scott was until he got that rushing touchdown. You know what I mean? Devontae Smith, we know who that is. He got his, he got a receiving touchdown. Dallas Goedert got a receiving touchdown. And so basically they kind of showed up and showed out, and they were like, we're going to make sure that people remember who we are and that we earned our spot. And I think that's really what it was. I think the Eagles really wanted to, prove a point. And to me, they really did, and so kudos to them. So that's how it went down. That's why it was 38-7 game. They just completely shut down the Giants.
And let's face it, those games the Eagles lost, they didn't have Jalen Hurts playing those games. The difference maker that he is in that lineup is just so crucial to that Eagles team and the organization, because when he's out there playing, I mean, love him or hate him, he is a very good quarterback. He is a very versatile, very good quarterback. And it's proven why he's up for MVP for the regular season. So we'll see if he wins that award and wins something else. And Nicole, what is your thoughts on that game?
I just noticed there was a rift in the galaxy that the New York Giants, the only time they scored was on in the third period, when the only time the Giant Eagles didn't score was the third quarter. Sorry, not period. I'm thinking hockey.
It's all right.
Was the third quarter. So I just thought that was really weird and odd. No other points, and it was just that third quarter. So I wish that third quarter would have been the whole game for the Giants, but didn't work out. That's okay. 5 touchdowns. Didn't know that could happen in the playoffs. That's it.
Yeah, your Dr. Jones, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry that he didn't come through for you this week. Because I know you had high hopes in him.
I just met the guy, and or just knew just next year. Now they are on the radar. Jones, if he stays, I don't know.
Right, good point.
We'll have to see what they do in the off season if they don't what they do with the organization and where they decide to go with quarterback, if they stay with Daniel Jones or if they go somewhere else. But yeah, I was pretty shocked with this game in a way because I thought the Giants would try to put up some sort of fight. You've had their coach, Coach Dable, who's been an amazing coach all season long with them. And I just was a little surprised that his playbook went flat, like super flat. And I thought there would be more of a fight, more of a competition here. And I expected a little more from Saquon Barkley. Like, he's been balling out all season to, like Delilah said, come into the play for comeback player. So anyway, it was pretty amazing to see that they got trounced the way they did. But, I mean, it just proves what I've been saying all season long. Fly, Eagles, fly. They've been flying. They've been soaring. So moving on, though, to another divisional game, probably the most thought-out game that was going to be played out of these four was the match that had to be continued due to the Damar Hamlin cardiac arrest incident when the Bills and the Bengals were supposed to play earlier in the season. But what a showdown in the snow. Like, this was a fun game to watch because I'm reminiscent of watching like Michigan play their games in the snow. So this was a lot of fun for me. The Bills versus Bengals, 27-10. Mr. Smoky Smooth went in there and handled the massive piece of magic. Sorry, Janae. But yeah, that was quite the showing. I just feel like from my perspective, I've never seen that offense click on all cylinders. Like, they knew the defense, they read it, they had the play, they had the right toss to Mixon to keep him running. They had the perfect passes to Higgins and to Jamar Chase, the perfect passes when needed to Hayden Hurst. They just had all their weapons, and give it up. They've had a very wounded on and off all season offensive line, and they didn't have some of their pieces in these divisional games. And for that offensive line to step up and protect Joe Burrow the way they did in that game was pretty impressive, because when you look at teams like the Eagles, who have had this really good core offensive line all season long, and they've been playing so well, and to go to the Bengals where they've not had that, and to see them playing like they knew they wanted this game, so they were going to protect Joe at all costs. And that defense did amazing against the Bills. They had Josh Allen rattled. It was like, it wasn't what I was expecting. And I know Damar Hamlin was in the building, and I felt like that there was everything going against that the
Oh
Bengals
yeah.
could lose this because of that momentum and all of that inspiration and all of that motivational to win that game. But in the end, it was all Bengals. So Delilah, tell me what you think about this one.
Yeah, so like I did like I was 3 out of 4 by the way for the divisional games because I really thought the Bills will come out on top. Everything favored them, right? Like they were playing at home, the snow weather, they're known for that. You know what I mean? Not discounting, I'm from the Midwest. I know we get snow and wind here, but when you think about Buffalo, you know, up literally upstate. They're basically in Canada. Okay, so like
Exactly.
so when you think about like that winter snowy weather, you think, oh, it's gonna be snow football. We're all nostalgic over. It's fun to watch, right? But everybody kind of assumed like this is gonna be on the Bills' favor. You know what I mean? But kudos to the
Mhm.
Bengals coming in and having a game plan. They were coming in hot off a win, and I think that's basically honestly they were like, you know what, we won. People thought I shouldn't be here, and that win we had was a little wobbly. And so they were like, we can't do that again, right? And so I think that's really what happened. They just adjusted. I think Zach Taylor should get more credit as
Oh, I do
a
too.
coach. The fact that he's not mentioned often enough, the fact that he turned away guys, the Bengals were bad for a long time. Just, they also wore the brown bags over their heads too. Did you know that?
Yep.
Like it was, and so
Mhm.
like they were a bad team and he turned the team around and in a couple of seasons. He went to the AFC Championship with a quarterback that they didn't know was gonna come back and all the way to the Super Bowl, right? They
Right.
weren't sure how he was going to do because he was he came back from an injury, but then they repeated. And like, I agree. I wasn't sure if they could do that repeat performance because it is hard to do. That's really what it is. It's really hard to go back to back to back, that far into the championships and to the Super Bowl. And so I really wasn't sure. So I was a naysayer, but I was like, we'll see. I don't know. But hey, they adjusted well. Zach Taylor did a good job. Like I don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but he really stepped up for this game because they were all over.
Definitely.
They were all over Josh Allen. They sacked him once, but outside of that, they pressured him a lot. They contained him. Again, they were all over Diggs, right? That's why
Yep.
Diggs was upset at the end of the game because he really couldn't, capitalize on those catches. They shut down everybody that they needed to, and so they won that game handedly. I mean, 27-10. So
Yeah.
kudos to the Bengals having a good like playbook and just following through and not taking the foot off the gas. So
Oh, and
Mhm.
when they originally were supposed to play, I said earlier a few shows ago that I felt they had the momentum with them during that game before Damar Hamlin had his cardiac event. So I had a good feeling that after seeing that momentum the first time that they'd carry that momentum over. And I Joe Burrow's a different quarterback. He's just got that calm about him for only being in his third year. I mean, kudos to him for being so patient and calm and having that wherewithal within him to play more like a veteran in the league than as more of like a third year quarterback because that's not easy to do in this league. And when you're going up against a team like the Bills that were preseason predicted to go to the Super Bowl and everybody had them. So I'm pretty impressed. Nicole, give us your thoughts on this game. I'm curious what you think.
Well, I thought it was the CFL with all that snow, which is our Canadian NFL. Um, and I thought he handled it really well with even the conditions. And like, I don't think people don't talk about the weather conditions, like, as much as maybe someone should give credit because for some reason they still like playing football outside.
right.
In some fields, it's part of their franchise, and it is part of kind of their culture and geographically like where they all are, and it plays a huge strategy into their game. So for I thought was, I was a little worried with Burrows coming into this game with that in effect, but they pulled it all through. Yeah, Chase too as well. I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, there wasn't too much going on with Bills. I think where it really hit them was their rushing yards. And I think that's how they ended up getting it done. So, I mean, thank you, Bills. And they ended up with 14-4, and they're with 14-4. So it's a divisional round, and that was it. That's all.
Um, moving on to the last game, I feel bad covering this game without two of our hosts and
They're both Cowboy fans. Oh,
doing
sorry,
this
ladies.
without our biggest Cowboy fans being Miss Ash and Janae, but we have to cover it anyway. So we're going to talk about the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, which the final score was 19-12. And the 49ers and Mr. Brock Purdy got it done again. So anyway, Nicole, let's start with you this time. What are your thoughts on Mr. Purdy and the 49ers going and beating their Cowboys?
Well, okay, so this was a tough one for me, and I was really, really, I try not to put and say too much with the Cowboys for when, these important things happen, because it's like, you're breathing hard in a room that you're really trying to play a good video game. So I was breathing slightly soft breaths and holding my breath, waiting for something to happen. It ended up being 12-19 for San Fran. And Purdy, darn you, Purdy. I know he did. He made a rookie mistake, though, that I hope he was making more rookie mistakes for the play clock in the very beginning. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but there was a point there where it's actually, I learned for when the ball, they look at the play clock, then they look down for it to be, a delay of game, as well as where it's thrown. He was ended up with 1 second left because as you throw and it goes, even if the ball goes outside of the line, it's when it hits and hits, that's when the time stops. That's what I found out anyways. So he threw quite a bit of distance outside of the boundaries, which ended up leading to more of a lengthy time and holding that ball when he shouldn't have. So they see the cracks of you, Miss Birdie. But for the Dallas Cowboys, I still have to say they're the only team in the NFL history to record 20 straight winning seasons from 1966 to 1985. And by golly, it's going to happen next year. So that's all I got.
You heard it here first. She's saying the Cowboys are going to do
I
it
love
next year.
Yes.
So
There you
Delilah,
go.
if Nicole says it, it's going to happen. I have a
Hey,
feeling.
she put it out there, right? It's about manifestation, right? You want to manifest.
Yep, it sure is.
Listen,
Delilah, what are your thoughts?
I gotta say that this game, for a while, it was a very defensive game, which is actually exciting that a defense is actually showing up that game. So it wasn't like for me, like as I've been saying, I think what put the 49ers at top had to come down to play calling. Shanahan was the better coach. It's just that's really, in my opinion, really what happens. The defense for the Dallas really pressured for a long, long time. The 49ers is the first time in a bunch of games that I actually saw Purdy flustered, right? Nervous. Because we have to remember this kid is a rookie and you could see it, because it's a high pressure game. You could see he made mistakes, right? He had the fumble loss. And so, he got sacked. It's like the first time I actually really saw him ruffled. And I was like, oh, Dallas got this. You know what I mean? Like they actually might get this game. They push him off his whole comfort zone and they stopped all the main guys that they needed to. Debo, we know he didn't start really getting his feet going until the second half of the game. Same thing with CMC. They really did a good job of containing all their main guys. But what Shanahan did is he kept chipping away at that. And then the turnovers that they had, the two that they had, they turned it into points. It was field goals, but they were still points, right? They got 6 points out of that, and then what really re-energized to me, which was the best play of the game, was that Purdy pass, wobble pass, catch to Kittle, right? By the way,
that pass was crazy.
Kittle didn't get a touchdown this game, but he was where he needed to be in that second half, right? He picked up a lot of yards in the second half. He got going, and that deep pass and that wobble catch, which I'm still trying to understand how he even caught it, but he did. And that was right towards the end of the third quarter, which is why fourth quarter, right there on the other side of the field, 2-yard rushing. They gave it to the guy, CMC. He got that 2-yard rushing TD. And honestly, that's really what turned the tide and why, 49ers came on top. But other than that, like, Dallas wasn't out of this game. They really weren't. Like, they were in it to the end. And it's just that second half, especially that fourth quarter, just 49ers got going. Shanahan actually, got that run game. He never gave up on that run game.
No.
And so that really made the difference. He made sure he knew eventually you're not going to contain CMC for long, right? So he's like, you know what, we're going to try anyway. It was going to be him or Debo. One of those two guys, we're going to get that touchdown. Because even though Debo didn't get a touchdown, he really started getting his feet, right? He started getting going too.
Did.
And so, like, that's really, to me, what made the big difference. And so that's all it was. So Dallas, like, it was a hard fought game. You guys really were in it, and it's just the play calling. We know that all the Dallas fans out there know that I'm talking about the coaching and the play calling. That really was what made the difference, and that's it.
Right. And can we just say, like, give it to Lynch with going for CMC in the middle of the season and obtaining him in a trade with the Panthers. I mean, what a beautiful addition to that team he has been. And Johnny, the CMC Music Factory, I love it. Kittle has been phenomenal for them. He's not only a great catching tight end, he's a great blocking tight end, and he's really has made a lot of those plays happen. And I am just really just enamored with what a great coach Shanahan is. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for the coach that he is and how he's bringing the 49ers back to life. I mean, not many times would you ever think that you would see the 49ers where they're at this soon. I didn't expect it, that they'd be a relevant team with Mr. Irrelevant. But they have become relevant. And I give Purdy a lot of credit for keeping his poise and his calm in those games. And I love the accolades that his teammates are giving him after those games. Like, I just think that helps boost his confidence and his determination to keep playing as well as he is. And I'm sorry, Dallas. I mean, you did get good news today. Dan Quinn is staying with your team. He's done interviewing for head coaching jobs. So you did get some good news today. But I did see where McCarthy did meet with Kellen Moore, and there's no decisions yet with him and whether he's going to be with the organization. So keeping my fingers crossed for you, Ash, that you get your wish that he is gone. Because I know you think you deserve a better offensive coordinator. I'm trying to see the silver lining here.
For sure, I agree.
Because I feel like I feel like with your owner, Jerry Jones, canceling his radio spots this week and concentrating on the team, I think he's trying to be more serious. And I know they've made a lot of coaching changes today. So, I think that the Cowboys are trying to figure it out, but one thing I will never fathom is why you thought Ezekiel Elliott at the end of that game was going to be your center and that play at the end of the game. I will never understand that play for the rest of my life. I was like, what in the heck is McCarthy doing here? You've got your running back lined up as a center. You did not know what you were doing, and it's why it ended the way it did. So hopefully there will be better things in the future for the Cowboys other than burning 14 seconds and putting Ezekiel Elliott in as your running center. So, but with that, we're going to move on. Those were your divisional game recaps, and that's our thoughts, and we're sticking to them.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.